Welcome to episode 2.2 of How to Argue Like a Decent Human Being. In this series, you will learn how to present and evaluate arguments, and also learn some key concepts from logic. In episode 2.1, you learned what makes an argument good, as well as what it means for an argument to be valid, sound, strong, or cogent. In this short episode, I will provide some tips on how to communicate an argument effectively. As you saw in episode 1, the ultimate goal of presenting an argument is to convince someone of the truth of a proposition, or to persuade them to take a certain course of action, which makes argumentation an inherently interpersonal act. A good argument, then, is one that is easy for your reader or listener to understand, and one that makes them more willing to accept and pay attention to what you're saying. So what criteria can we use to evaluate the goodness of an argument? Number 1. Brevity. Is your argument succinct? Most people have an aversion to any mental task that requires sustained attention. Even a sound argument fails to be persuasive if the person you want to persuade isn't even paying attention to you. Thus, all else being equal, a shorter argument is better than a longer one. Number 2. Simplicity. Are you using plain language? The process of making your argument shorter not only involves taking unnecessary words and phrases out of your argument, but it also forces you to rethink your word choices. If your reader or listener has to constantly look up a dictionary, or if they have to reread your argument or ask you to repeat yourself multiple times, then your argument can and should be simplified. Wherever possible, avoid the use of technical or low-frequency words, and make sure that each sentence contains no more than a few embedded clauses. This way, your reader or listener won't have to waste their mental resources on trying to decode your argument. And instead, they can allocate their mental resources to actually evaluating the soundness or cogency of your argument. One of the best pieces of advice that I got as a student was to assume that your reader or listener is an idiot, without actually treating them as such. We all have to realize that sometimes it's actually not their fault that they don't understand us, and that we just may lack the verbal skills to communicate our thoughts effectively. Number 3. Clarity. Is your point clear? I'm going to repeat what I stated at the beginning of this episode, because it's important. The purpose of presenting an argument is to convince and persuade others. Therefore, you must ensure that your reader or listener can easily grasp the point you want to make. This can be achieved by highlighting and repeating the most important message that you wish to convey, and by using signposting language. Signposting language refers to a set of words and phrases that indicate how your argument is organized into cohesive parts, and how each sentence, paragraph, or section is logically connected to the others. For example, ordinal numbers such as first and second make it easier to see where one idea starts and ends, while connective phrases like however and therefore can clarify the relationship between one sentence and the next. Number 4. Attitudes and tones. Are you calm and respectful? A logical argument is not a verbal fight. There's no winner or loser. There's only truth. An emotive delivery of an argument, often characterized by aggressive or insulting language, elicits an emotional reaction from your reader or listener and causes them to vehemently oppose your perspective, or even worse, to refuse to listen to you at all. If you find that your arguments frequently leave other people feeling offended, you should consider the possibility that the way you deliver your arguments is ineffectual, in that your arguments don't achieve their goal. And if you happen to believe that it's irrational of other people to get emotional in an argument, then you might need to realize that it is also irrational to be in a habit of doing things that prevent you from achieving your goal, unless your goal is to offend people, in which case you might want to re-evaluate your personality. This is the end of this episode. In future episodes, I will introduce you to some of the most commonplace logical fallacies. See you next time.